Give him just a second. Hello. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the coffee. We're going to get started again with our next talk. This is Jonathan Turner, and he is going to talk about TypeScript, which I know this is a JavaScript conference, but we'll let him talk.
Thanks. So let's see if good volume. Can people hear me okay? It's coming up. It's coming up. So yeah, I will be talking about TypeScript. My name is Jonathan Turner. I'm actually really new to the TypeScript team. I joined a couple months ago after dropping out of the PhD program studying programming languages. So I come from mostly kind of an academic background, PL background. So there may be slight leanings here and there. Wave frantically if I say something that is some term or something. Yeah, so let's get started. So I want to talk about TypeScript today. I'm getting some feedback. We're good. OK, we're good. So let's start with this story. So this morning I hopped on Twitter. And you know, I felt pretty good this morning. Not a bad morning. As you know, since that's what you do, I started searching for the project I work on Twitter and found some nice quotes, which makes happy panda. And then I searched a little longer. The creator of C# says you can't write large apps in JavaScript. You need TypeScript. That's not been our experience. The whole premise that you have to, if you guys can't read it, the whole premise that you have to have TypeScript to write large applications in JavaScript is asinine. Complete BS. And of course, Scott Kuhn's laptop, which has the thing TypeScript. Just put it right out there. Sad panda. And finally, the voice of reason. Not sure, though, if TypeScript helps this space or not. Can't hurt, though, if you do decide to use it, since the impact is minimal. OK. So let's dive in here. I'm going to pop out of here and jump into actually writing some code and talking about what TypeScript is. So TypeScript, for those who haven't been checking it out, is a superset of JavaScript made by Microsoft and released into the open source. The idea here is that we're going to take standard JavaScript. We're going to add a few things to it. We're going to add, for example, ECMAScript type functionality like classes and modules. And we'll also add some typing features. And we'll look into the typing features here in a minute. But first, to kick off, TypeScript is just JavaScript when you kind of peel the extra layers away. So that was cool. All right. Yeah, that's right. God has spoken, apparently. So on the left-hand side is the kind of JavaScript you might write all the time. Of course, like I said before, this is just TypeScript is going to be strictly compatible with this JavaScript. What we can notice, though, once we run this example, is that if we try to hit the button, we get some error. Right? It says object, obviously. That's probably not what a hello world should be saying, unless you're saying hello to objects. So as the designer of this library, we have a few options. Obviously, we can kind of dig through the code, find where the bug is. But when you're building some styles applications, you might want to be able to very quickly cut off one section of code from being the cause of the problem from the other. And of course, here in TypeScript, we might go ahead and start using a type annotation. So if we're the creator of the greeter function, we know you should only be giving me strings. Please only give me strings. Now we start getting some of the type errors. And this is perhaps maybe something that will cause some ire. JavaScript types. But I think here what we're really saying is you can add them, you cannot. You can be compatible with JavaScript, or you can use these optional types to get some of these errors. So here we're giving an error, and we can, of course, fix this error by removing that we've created an object instead of a string. Of course, once we run this, we have the expected string comes out. So that's kind of what we saw here. How many of you have seen the Watt talk talking about the strange, fun, crazy Ruby and JavaScript things? So I will tell you straight out that if we switch to the Watt and we try to put that in TypeScript, it will immediately start giving you all kinds of underlines with, what are you talking about? These lines, of course, are perfectly valid JavaScript. They should work as perfectly valid JavaScript. And you'll see that even though the compiler tries to give you squigglies and says, if you add two empty arrays together, I have no idea what you're talking about. If you add two object literals together, I have no idea what you're talking about. It still comes out on the right-hand side. The compiler doesn't stop you from doing something that you know what you want to do. It still outputs the JavaScript. So you can kind of think of it, instead of type errors, in a sense, it's more like a type warning. Are you sure? But it will still go ahead and pass that through. Like I said before, the TypeScript is not just kind of the type system, even though that's in the name. The other part of it is the ECMAScript classes and modules aspect of it. So here we see the TypeScript class syntax, which is the ECMAScript 6 syntax. And then this is going to get compiled to something that's compatible with, for example, the standard JavaScript ES3 or ES5. This of course, gives people an option whether or not they want to use more of a closure style pattern or a class style pattern. And finally, we also allow modules. As these are still kind of in the process of being kind of ratified in ES6, TypeScript will follow kind of the class and the module syntax as ES6 gets. What's that?
Do you have import star?
We do not have import star to my knowledge. So sad. But one of the cool aspects of this is that the modules that we have here are also compatible with kind of the Node and AMD style on the other side. So let's see, places we can go now. So I found the other day that there is kind of this new cool tool that someone has put out for, let's take a step back. So we were talking about typing, and we were talking about modules and classes. One of the things that you can do with TypeScript is you can interop cleanly with existing JavaScript. How many of you have heard that JavaScript is the new assembly language of the something, something, something? Okay, that's bollocks. That doesn't make any sense. So having been an assembly programmer and watching you guys, like, it is night and day compared to what you have to do in assembly to get something done versus JavaScript. That just doesn't make any sense to make that kind of comparison. But while we want to be able to kind of add tooling, we want to be able to easily interoperate with the JavaScript that's already out there. It's wild, it's popular. I mean, the kind of expertise in this room is amazing. In fact, I would love to kind of sit and watch all of the talks again after this and try to absorb that. We want to be able to leverage the libraries that you create and the technology that you create inside of TypeScript. And the way that we do that is that we can just call into the JavaScript directly, but we don't necessarily get all the tooling and all the type help, the ability to catch, for example, early error messages. So we can create a shim called the .d.ts file or declare file. And that just gives kind of a layer of type information onto existing JavaScript. This has actually been fairly popular to people who started using TypeScript. And there's now a kind of an NPM style thing called TSD. And we can do a search. So I can search on, let's actually search on something. So I can search on Node. And assuming the wireless works, it's going to go out and find, oh, there are these library typings for these Node packets, these packages with Node in the name. And then I can go ahead and install one of these. So this is going to go out, find the Node typings for me, pull them into a directory. And I can go over here and start up a, let me close this project. Close solution. New file. TypeScript. Get rid of the boilerplate that we don't want. I'll say this is kind of a node hello.ts. So as we start out, what we're going to do is we're going to pull in the node typing that we just pulled down. So that's under a DTS directory. It's node.d. Let's see, make sure we get the name correct. Node-0.8.d.ts. And then we can import, for example, HTTP. Let's say we want to create an HTTP server, kind of a hello world example. So all I've done is I've pulled in the typings inside of my TypeScript file. I've said, all right, let's import the HTTP part of Node. And now I get IntelliSense and some help with kind of the parameters of various functions inside of this module. We can go ahead and, for example, create the server. And when I do that, I'm sure all of you have this all memorized by now. What's your Node Hello World skills? I've just said function with request and response. And one of the nice things about TypeScript is that, yes, it has types as part of it. And you can kind of optionally pick when and where you want to use them. You get some help in automatically discovering type information for you. So in this example, all I said was create server. And because I'm passing a function in, TypeScript is smart enough to say, oh, but there's only this create server, and you're passing a single function. So I know what these parameters are to it. So if I say res dot, it knows that res, let's hover over this, it says, oh, it's a HTTP server response. It's been able to deduce that based on how you're using it. Notice I haven't written any type annotations anywhere, which is kind of a nicety. So let's finish up the content type. Text plain. Nice ringtone, by the way. Okay. And finally, we'll do one last dot, and we will listen on, of course, requisite port 1337, localhost. So again, all those the type annotations I didn't write were kind of implied, and I got the IntelliSense as I walked along with the example. We can come back and compile the example. So that's our node hello. And then run the resulting JavaScript that came out of that compilation. And of course, we can come and prove to ourselves that it worked. All right. So the kind of interaction that you get is still the very quick JavaScript. You know, I jump in, I hit refresh, I change a few things. But we give you just a little extra of being able to IntelliSense your way around libraries that you may not know that well or whatnot. You'll notice too, as I was doing this, you got IntelliSense, but you didn't get, let's say, JS documentation. That would be a nice feature to add, and we're actually kind of looking into that. Let's see how we're doing on time. OK, so a few more minutes. I want to also show some of the new features that are coming out here shortly. So let's pull open this. This is, so Windows 8 has the ability to, basically takes JavaScript, uses it as a first-class citizen. You can create applications that run really well with the Windows 8 environment. Let me just show you that real quick. This particular project is a JavaScript project that was converted to TypeScript. Oh, that's sad panda. There's a screen resolution thing. I might, is it OK if I pop to a different resolution?
Use a simulator.
I might just do that. Un momento. Display. Yeah. Okay. Like you always think to do this when you're not the one standing on it. All right. OK, so the idea is it's a Wikipedia application. It goes out and fetches some of the Wikipedia pictures, and you scroll around and you get the Windows 8 style. Fun.
You recreated in Carta?
What's that?
I said you recreated in Carta?
You have to go back in time to see the future. So one of the things that we did when we shipped TypeScript was we were kind of going back and forth, and we know that we wanted to support a way of debugging TypeScript. Yes, it's great. You can write in this language, you get tooling. But once you run it, now all you see is the JavaScript. And of course, Google and Mozilla had been working on a project called Source Maps. And we didn't quite have all the support in Visual Studio and IE, so we just kind of slipped it into the compiler and didn't tell anyone. But of course, it's open source, and about 3 days later, one tweet led to a blog, led to everyone knowing that you can turn source maps on inside of TypeScript. So we're finally able to support it well inside of Visual Studio. And I just wanted to show that. So if I set a breakpoint in the TypeScript file, run the same application, I come back out and I've broken into the TypeScript, and I can from here, of course, start to step around. I can hover and get values and so forth. This is smart enough that once we skip around to the point where we're no longer in TypeScript, it's going to jump over to the JavaScript, and if we jump back out, it will go back to the TypeScript. So it has a kind of a smooth transition, just like your projects that are written in TypeScript, connecting off to third-party JavaScript. You're going to be able to debug those easily going back and forth. And with that, I could, let's see, I'm kind of tempted now. Just to prove that the source map support is the same one. The source maps that, for example, Chrome uses are line-by-line source maps. And the source maps that Visual Studio use are expression by expression, meaning that inside of 4 loops, you can kind of jump around to the guards. we have it working so it works in actually both of those. So with that, I would like to thank everyone for listening. Some good places to get more information, of course, are the TypeScript language website itself. And Stack Overflow is a good place where we have kind of our Q&A for TypeScript. Not only is the team on there, but also some other people are on there, so we get answers out there pretty quickly. And yeah, definitely experiment with it and let me know.